If I were to point to one trope that's overused in modern horror movies, it would definitely be the jump scare.
Okay.
Which is ironic because horror is all about surprising the audience. So if a technique is overused, audiences will become desensitized to it and suddenly it has no effect on them, which is the opposite of what you want in a horror movie. The epidemic of cheap, awful horror movies is certainly nothing new. Their tactics are lazy, that focus on spending as little money as possible on a commercially viable horror movie that can make 8 times its budget in the opening weekend alone. These cheap horror movies tend to have one type of scare and one scare alone, and that is the jump scare. Jump scares are usually a moment in the film where it gets really quiet, followed by a loud noise associated with some kind of perceived threat. This setup is great because it's something that can potentially scare the crap out of us in real life. Imagine walking down a dark street thinking you're the only person there, when suddenly someone you don't know jumps out of a dark corner and screams at you. This is something that would rightfully scare you. The problem is that cheap modern horror films have no idea how to utilize a jump scare effectively. When done well, a jump scare can have a huge impact on the audience, and when done poorly, it could end up being a cheap moment where the viewer's heart rate increases for 3 seconds.
Come on, Christy.
That brings us to John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing is a masterpiece of horror that contains what I believe to be the best jump scare I've ever seen. Basically, there's a monster in their base that can shapeshift into any creature that it kills. The crew has no idea which one of their own is the creature. They also have no idea if any of them are the creature at all. So they decide to cut their fingers and bleed into a petri dish. Then they would drop a red hot piece of wire into each petri dish. If their blood reacts by turning into a monster to defend itself, then we know that that person is the monster. And if your blood does nothing, then you're safe. This shows the two things that I would consider to be vital to any jump scare. 1, proper tension. 2, a real threat. This scene builds tension by making us aware that a scare is possibly going to take place. Each time the hot wire is pressed in the blood, we know that it might react as a monster. We also know that it could just do nothing. So we're held on the edge of our seat wondering if the container of blood will react or do absolutely nothing. Our constant guessing of what is to come next is the foundation of tension. Then there's the threat. There needs to be a real threat to our characters, otherwise this scare is meaningless. And in The Thing, the threat is very real, and the risk to our characters is very real. At this point, multiple characters have already died, so we know that more characters can die as well.
This is pure nonsense. Doesn't prove a thing.
I thought you'd feel that way, Gary. You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
Get away from me! Retreating!
The reason that jump scares are as reviled as they are now is because there are so many talentless hacks creating sellout horror films just for profit and with no artistic merit. The reason these jump scares feel so cheap is because they're completely missing these two elements. They don't build tension and there's no real threat to the characters. They just have moments where the sound completely cuts out of the film, followed by an image that has no threat being accompanied by an ear-piercingly loud bang. Of course this makes people jump. You played a loud noise, but that's all it is. A loud noise. The worst kinds of jump scares are the ones where a loud noise is accompanied by a harmless animal. Or a friend of the protagonist just trying to scare them. Also, if you're making a found footage movie, there should not be noises accompanied with things coming out of nowhere, because if it's really found footage, then there wouldn't be any of these noises edited in post. So to end this video, I might show you a jump scare. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an image of this door, And immediately after the door, I'm either going to show you darkness or a scary image accompanied by a scary noise. And, well, let's get some ominous music in. Good. Good, this works. I like this. So, I'm either going to show you this door a few times followed by darkness and have a jump scare at the end, or I'm not going to have anything scary at all, and it might just end. You don't know. So I hope you enjoy this jump scare, or not, and stay tuned for the next one.